everybody, welcome back. Sabrina here. If you're new, welcome to my channel. And today we are going to be talking about my son's birth story. As most of you know, I have two children. I have a 2-year-old son and a 8-month-old daughter. And I have never shared my son's birth story on here before. And so we are going to be doing that today. I'm really excited. I love talking about birth and it's just a passion of mine. I just really like talking about it, and especially with other moms. So if you're not a mom or don't really like to talk about birth, then this video is definitely not for you. But if you are a mom or you love all things birth, then please welcome to this video. I'm happy to have you. So let's go ahead and let's dive right in. All right, so let's start at the beginning because that's a perfect spot to start, right? So I got married when I was 19. And I was almost 20, but I got married in October of 2017 on the 14th day, and my husband and I just were so excited to start having kids. We did mention before we had talked about having kids, and so we said that we wanted to wait at least 6 months after getting married pardon me, to have kids. So you know, wait 6 months and maybe even to a year to have a baby. And so we were both thinking that was the plan and all that kind of thing. Anyway, and so I think it was like a month after, or a month and a half after we were married, my sister-in-law got pregnant, and she and her husband got married 2 months before we did. So they were newlyweds too. And then another friend of mine who got married a week before we did was also pregnant. So it was really hard not to want a baby. And so we kind of were talking about it. And so we had decided to go ahead and just start trying. So we started trying. And then 3 months after we were married, I got pregnant with our little boy. So some of you may be like, oh my, that wasn't very long. No, it wasn't. And we both really loved kids. So it was great. And we won a bunch of them, so we might as well start young. So anyway, I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant in, I think January of that year, of 2019, or 18, sorry. And so I found out I was pregnant, mid-January. So, well, late January, it might have been early February, because I was almost a month along when I found out. And I was so excited. I could not contain myself when I found out, because I took the test and my husband knew I was going to take it in the morning, and I took it, and we had both just woken up, and so I took it and waited a few minutes, and it was positive. I was so excited. I came back to bed with my husband, and I said, honey, I'm pregnant, it's positive. He and I were just so happy, and we were just jumping for joy. It was so exciting. Anyway, from there it was kind of just a waiting game, you know, just waiting to see when I could get in to see a midwife. So Josiah and I had already planned that we wanted a home birth, and I have been surrounded by that. My mom had lots of home births. She also had a couple of hospital births, so I was also familiar with both. And I just really wanted a home birth. I already had in mind a midwife who had trained under the midwife who actually delivered me, so that was pretty cool. And I already know her, and she knew our family, and so I just felt comfortable with her because she already knew who I was, and so go ahead with that. And so we did. So I was waiting around to have an appointment with her and, you know, hear the heartbeat for the first time. So we waited till week 12, and that's essentially when you can start hearing the baby's heartbeat with the Doppler. And so that was a pretty exciting, it was just exciting to hear for the first time the baby's heartbeat. It touched my little mama heart. It was just so exciting. And so we got to hear that, and skip ahead, several months go by, and I am finally 37 weeks. I was starting to get pretty anxious, and well, let's go ahead and start at 38 weeks, because 38 weeks was when I was really anxious and ready for this baby to be out. I was so excited. you know, we had found out it was a boy, so ahead of time we knew he was a boy, and which was super fun and exciting. We had already had his name planned out. I had everything planned. Unfortunately though, I will kind of make a note, we had to move into my in-laws' basement because Josiah's job, he had lost his job, and was working. Finally, he did find a job, so thankfully he was working and making money, so that was good. But, you know, for a while there, he didn't have a job, and so we actually moved in with his parents. And so we were living with his in-laws, and yes, Judah was actually born there. Well, not born there, but you know what I mean. So we were in my in-laws' basement, and I had actually planned on having a home birth at my in-laws' house. And they were fine with that. They were actually quite honored that I'd be comfortable with that. And so I went ahead and we planned for a home birth in the basement of my in-laws' house. And it was a little disconcerting, a tiny bit, but I got over that really quickly because I really wanted to have a home birth, and I was very comfortable around my in-laws. I love them like they're my second parents. And so anyway, so I had planned the home birth, everything, and so we were getting the basement ready. I was cleaning like a mad woman. And especially with your firstborn, it's just like you want everything perfect, immaculate shape, everything ready. I had the baby clothes, I had the crib, you know, you name it, I had it out. And I had all the birth supplies already prepped, and I was just getting so excited, and I could not wait. I could not wait for this baby to be here. I was so sick of waiting. And so 39 weeks come around, or 40 weeks comes, and I'm like, it's your due date, you're supposed to be here. Yeah, well, he wasn't. So, waiting game again. I was almost a week overdue, and that, well, let's see here. 3 days before I went into labor, I had some false labor. I had actually called my mom. She, at the time, lived in Coeur d'Alene, and that's about 3 hours from here. And so, unfortunately, I was calling her because I wanted her at the birth, and so I had some false labor that was pretty strong actually, and I was like, oh, every night was like prodromal labor, and that's essentially labor, but it's not real. It's false labor is what it essentially is, and it can keep you up for, you know, a long time. And so I think it was the second night of having that I was like so sure I was going into labor. I called my mom because I was like, I don't want her to miss it if I go, you know, super quick. But, you know, it's your first. I should have known it wasn't going to be quick and easy. So she arrived Friday night, and everything stopped. And I was very disappointed. And so she was there, and so there was an extra room in the basement, so she was staying there. And so, I think Saturday, nothing happened. I was like, this is sucky, you know, like my mom came here, this baby needs to be born before she goes back. And so Saturday, nothing, you know, I had some contractions here and there, but nothing like, oh, I'm going into labor. So we go to bed. Saturday I have contractions, and then nothing happens. So finally, Sunday night after church, and I'm upstairs eating with my in-laws. My husband is downstairs, and I think he's watching a movie or playing a game. I'm not exactly sure, but he's resting downstairs because he's been up with me, you know, a good portion of 3 nights. So he's downstairs trying to rest, and because, you know, this baby could be born any day now. And so anyway, I am just eating dinner with my in-laws, and all of a sudden my contractions start really picking up. Like, whew, okay. And they're starting to hurt, and they're like, I don't remember how many minutes apart they were, but they were getting close, and my in-laws are helping me, you know, track them, and I'm like, oh, okay, I should probably go downstairs and, you know, just rest, get some things done, because this could be it. So I went downstairs, and I cleaned like a mad woman. I don't know what it was. I think it's everybody, like a lot of moms have this where it's like this instinct that you know it's gonna happen like that night, and you just clean like so much. And so I cleaned, I was folding, and my contractions while I'm doing this are getting more painful and more frequent. And so finally I'm done and I'm ready to just kind of relax and start, you know, doing some squats and some other things. And I'm telling Josiah and my husband, this is getting really intense, you know, like I'm starting to hoo-hee. And so anyway, I go to the bathroom, and maybe a little TMI, but I lose my mucus plug, and I was like, oh, I should call my midwife. And I was so excited that finally something's happening. And all the time my mom's visiting with family somewhere else, and so she wasn't there yet, but she was on her way. And so anyway, things start working towards, oh, these contractions are like 5 minutes apart, and they're getting closer and closer and more intense. And so I'm telling my midwife, you know, all these things. And so I think an hour goes by, and we had kind of rested, and I don't know what it was about that hour, but I started really having contractions, and they were painful, and like I started shaking, like so shaky. So my husband, and he comes and he sits on the couch with me out in the living area, and I'm just sitting there, and I'll get on my ball, and then I get on the couch and ball and couch. And, you know, when you're in labor, you're uncomfortable. So when everybody starts, so I told my midwife that I wanted her to come, and I think it was about time. And so I'm sitting there next to my husband, and I'm shaking, and then I have a contraction, and he's helping me breathe through it. My mom had picked up some snacks for everybody, which was really nice. And so my midwife and my mom had come right around the same time, and so they both got there a few minutes apart. And my midwife's like, oh, you're in like active labor, and I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, sucky. And so I'm just starting to try to breathe through the contractions and all that. And so so she gets there, she's trying to set up the birth pool and get because she had like this blow up birth pool. And so I had already blown it up actually. And so she was trying to get everything like ready so that she could put water in it. And then she was also getting everything else ready. And so by now I was almost in transition, I think. I'm not quite there yet. And so I was really uncomfortable, and I was on the ball trying to nap, didn't work. And so she's like, well, you can go out and get in the water, because she had filled it up by then. Do you think you want to, or she asked, do you think you want to get in the water? And I was like, sure. I went ahead and got in the birth pool in the water, and my contractions were still pretty intense, but they weren't like super on top of each other yet. Like they were, but they weren't, like it wasn't transition yet. So I'm just starting to get to that point. And so I went ahead and got in the water, and things started to not necessarily slow down, but not get as intense as they should have been. I think that my son just felt too relaxed in the water, and I did too. And so he actually ended up turning, which we found out later, turning sunny side up, which posterior. So instead of, he was head down, but instead of facing the way that they're supposed to. So when they come out, they're supposed to have their head face down, and he had turned so that when he was coming out, that he would have been sunny side up, which is not what you're supposed to do, and it makes it super hard. It also creates super hard back labor, and I had excruciating back labor. So I'm in the water and things are slowing down, so Ashley's like, okay, I think you should get out. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want to get out. So I get out, I can barely stand up. I get all the wet clothes off of me, and I go ahead and put, you know, different clothes. I have my husband helping me, puts a new outfit on, and oh gosh, I did not feel good. And so I had intense back labor. Like it feels like, you know, something's just, oh, like the pain of the contraction would just wrap around. And I started to have contractions that were just kind of irregular, but regular enough that I was definitely still in labor. And so my midwife's like, well, you need contraction, you're not dilated enough. So she actually was like, you know, you need to be more dilated, because I also had the urge to push all of a sudden. She's like, okay, that's not good, you're not dilated enough. She checked me, I was only like 5-6 centimeters, and I wasn't progressing like I should. Everything, like leading up till I got into the water, I was progressing great, and then all of a sudden I slowed my progression, and everything was slowing down, and I was staying at like 5 and 6 centimeters. So really, really frustrating, and I was just feeling sick, like just ugh. And so my midwife, I'm already, you know, this has been hours, I've been up forever because of the prodromal labor before, and so I'm exhausted. And she's like, well, I think you need to, I'll give you a tincture to kind of put the contractions on top of each other and just walk around and try to get things going. And so we did that, and I just felt sicker and sicker and sicker. And so she finally was like, well, you need to lay down, try and rest, get some rest, that might help. I could not sleep. I was exhausted but couldn't sleep. So she checked me again, and she says, yeah, you're still staying at like 6 centimeters, or 5 or 6 centimeters. And all of a sudden my water breaks while she's checking me, and I'm like, whoa, there's a gush. And she's like, oh, good, water, you know, that's awesome. But I still wasn't progressing like I should have. So an hour passes, and Ashley, my midwife's like, well, you know, we could keep going, but something's not right, and, you know, we really should probably go to the hospital. And I was like livid. I was like, I do not want to go to the hospital. I was so mad. And I was so frustrated. At the same time, I was crying, and my husband just comes up to me. He's like, honey, are you sure you want to go to the hospital? You know, maybe they can help you, give you an epidural and, you know, help move things along. And I was like, I don't want to go. And so finally I just went ahead and I said, okay, let's go. By that time I was screaming like bloody murder. Like, I felt so bad for my in-laws upstairs. My mother-in-law was already trying to help out and, you know, do what she could. And anyway, and so I was yelling bloody murder. I was so mad, and I was in a lot of pain. And so my father-in-law drove the car down for us so that we could get in and drive to the hospital. And so my mom was in the front, and my husband was in the back trying to just rub my back with a vibrator that kind of helped. And so he was just pushing that, and I was squeezing my mother's hand like I was just so frustrated and so worried and in so much pain. We finally arrived at the hospital, which took, for me, it felt like an hour. I mean, it wasn't, it was like literally, I don't know, 20 minutes. And we got there, and you know, they put me in the wheelchair and they rushed me to the delivery room, and I'm screaming the whole time in just in pain, and I'm, you know, apologizing to people, and I don't know what it is about, you know, people, women in labor, and they apologize, but it's just what we do. And so I'm on the bed, and I'm still in so much pain, and it took them forever to get the IV, and then forever to get, you know, anesthesiologist, I think, for the epidural. And they're actually like, well, let's not do the epidural. Let's go ahead and do fentanyl, which is kind of a drug that just helps relax, gets you to relax so that you can dilate. And so they gave me that, and instantly I started feeling more relaxed. I was still yelling in pain, but it was more relaxed. And so the fentanyl starts to kick in, and I start dilating because I'm relaxed. And another thing I should probably note, that the whole time I was, an hour before we even thought about going to the hospital, I was already like trying to push and having to suppress the urge to push because I wasn't dilated enough. And so for 3 hours until he was born, I had to suppress the urge to push. I don't know if anybody else knows what I'm talking about, but that is the worst thing possible. And not able to push is so hard. And so for 3 hours, I was just, so while I'm on the bed in the hospital, I'm also still trying to suppress the urge to push because I'm not at 10 centimeters yet. So, but the fentanyl did help a little bit. And so every time I had the urge to push, I would just have to breathe. And then they would all try to just say, it's okay, you're dilating, you can do this. The doctor finally checks me, or the nurse, and she's like, okay, we're 10 centimeters, we're good now. The doctor comes in, and she, you know, I'm in the stirrups and everything, and so she's finally like, okay, you can push. And I'm like, whoa, someone said I can push, I can push. So I just give it my all, and it took 20 minutes, and he was out. I was pushing, but 20 minutes, and he was out. I was so overjoyed. I was so excited. I used to see his screaming little face, and I looked at him, because they put him on my stomach, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I look at my husband who's standing there next to me, and I just said, honey, he's perfect. He's so perfect. And my husband and I are just crying, we're sobbing, and this baby just is so perfect that we created. We were just so happy, and I was just amazed. And I was so happy that the hospital was so kind to us, and I may love home birth, but the hospital that he was born in, they were very kind, and a lot of people actually knew who we were, because it's a small town, small area. And so it was truly a not great experience. I really hated it, but it was a good experience at the same time, and I'm glad I had that experience. So that's my son's birth story. That's what happened. Those are all the details. It was a hard birth. I never ever want to go through that again. It was 17 hours. He was born 41 weeks to the day. He was 7 pounds and 3 ounces. He was 20 and a half inches long, and he was just the perfect little child, and I was so happy he was born. And here he is after his little nap. Can you say hi, Juju?
Hi, Kyla.
No, it's not Kyla. Those are just say hi. Hi. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. If you have any questions for me, please let me know in the comment section down below. And if you have any cool birth stories to share, I would love to swap them. And I love hearing about other mamas and their birth stories. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Say bye! Alright, I will see you guys in our next video. We'll see you next time.